All right, everyone. Manning is going to try to run for the U.S. Senate, primarying the Democrat there to try to knock him off their pedestal. Now, at first, my first response is, hey, I could never support this. Manning would maybe be funny. It would be hilarious. But a social justice warrior. If you look at Chelsea Manning's Twitter, what do you see? Basically Antifa rhetoric. It's far out there, social justice, right? Oh, we got this bullshit. It's like, yeah, we're going to resist the evil, bigot, tyrant authoritarians. We're going to totally ignore the fact that the neoliberals are those tyrant authoritarians. We're going to completely ignore that. Displacement's fine. Proxy wars, I guess, are fine, even though Manning's openly standing against that sort of stuff in the past, now apparently has embraced it. I have very little respect for the ideological platform of Chelsea Manning, as opposed to maybe an Edward Snowden or somebody like that who's more even-handed, seems to know what the fuck's going on. Manning just went way out there and became, an anarchist or something. So, the commie anarchist sort of pro-Antifa bullshit, the pro-terrorism violence bullshit, I can't support that. But then Cassandra Fairbanks actually weighed in and said, yeah, but you got to realize this is Maryland. This is something I was like, oh, yeah, derp, I probably should have thought of that, actually. It's a far blue state. The seat's going to be filled by a liberal Democrat at the very least, probably someone who's a progressive so-called, aka regressive. That's good. That's inevitable. So why does it matter that someone who's like a total social justice warrior is going to be there? Hell, Manning's going to be so far out, might become a pariah within the Democratic Party. And you get an added bonus there, which is, hey, at the same time, this is a person who supposedly committed espionage and stood against, the government during the Obama era, no less, and really screwed with things by bringing transparency to government. So maybe it would be funny to see the establishment suffer by having someone like that among the Senate ranks. Yeah, that's a pretty good point. I mean, there's no way that a conservative could win that seat. You could barely have a liberal Republican get into that seat. There's no chance of that. Manning would sail through and win, obviously. It wouldn't really be... The Republicans would be dumb to bother contesting it. Like dragging out the, committed espionage, committed treason sort of... That's not going to work. It'll be cast off as a partisan thing. They'll say, well, Obama commuted it, blah, blah, blah. Although, there is one question I have. I do not believe, can a felon in the state of Maryland or even federally, I do not believe a felon can actually run for the Senate. That might be a problem because you remember when Obama commuted the sentence, he didn't give a pardon. It doesn't rescind the criminal record, it just means time served. Therefore, Chelsea Manning may not actually be eligible to run at all. If, though, it's determined, hey, you can run, yeah, it'd be funny. It would be funny because the thing is, the neoliberal Democrat might take a total pounding. Manning is not maybe the most well-spoken or intellectually intelligent individual in the world, but, could easily face off against the average standard, token neoliberal. The cookie-cutter Democratic Party figure is not very intelligent for the most part. They'll take up a couple of progressivist so-called wedge issues, and they'll call themselves liberal because of this. Really, they're just an authoritarian who happens to want more taxation. It's basically like a Republican, essentially. The Republicans are the same. John McCain is exactly the same as an Obama. Mitt Romney's the same as a Hillary Clinton. They all party together. They get money from the same people. It's the usurpation of an actual representative democracy. There is no real representation in most of Congress. There are a few people that, because of the demographics of their state, are able to maintain independence of thought. Most of them don't. Most of them are machine politics. Manning, oddly enough, would probably be more independent and probably would find, Manning would probably be at odds. Almost as much with the Democrats as with the Republicans, to tell the truth. Because, again, most Democrats and most Republicans basically are the same thing. And it's going to look a little conspicuous, Manning, because the evil bigot Republicans, while ignoring that the same shit goes on in the Democratic Party. Also might be eye-opening for Manning. Well, Manning, if you do get in there, what you're going to see is that there is systemic corruption in the Democratic Party. You're going to see that there's also systemic corruption within the Republican Party. Yeah, DC's fucked up. Although if you think that you're going to ride in there like some sort of, untold mythological warrior and suddenly make things better because you happen to be Manning, that's probably not going to work. The fact that you were a whistleblower, and I do class Chelsea Manning as a whistleblower, not a traitor, not a spy, Not any of that shit. I don't think heroic, but like with Snowden, I think patriotic in the sense of Chelsea Manning thought that the right thing was being done by disclosing that information. I don't think it was malevolent. I don't think it was an attempt to destroy the U.S., kill soldiers. I don't believe that. I don't think Obama, with all the intel he would have had, wouldn't have commuted the sentence if that were true, because then there's always the risk, hey, Chelsea Manning just came out, wrote a book, and said, haha, Obama let me go after I was a communist revolutionary trying to destroy the U.S. military or something. That wouldn't be good for his legacy, I think, so I don't think that would have happened. He cares. He's an egotist, too. It's just Obama's a destructive egotist, unlike Trump, who prefers to construct grand things and then have people, browbeat people into marveling at them. It's better for a country generally than some of the things dropping bombs is a good way to get your point across. Hillary Clinton, number one example of that. Oh, I'm going to show that I can be just as violent, dangerous, and vindictive as the big boys because I'm the first female president. I got to show these boys how it's done. Boom, there goes an atomic weapon. Could be a problem. Manning will quickly learn that you're not going to make any headway in the U.S. Senate. The Senate's, I think, more corrupt than the House at this point. Like the Senate's because, most of the top-ranking Republicans there, like a McConnell, a McCain, they're totally fucking corrupt. Whereas in the House, you have a few people at the top that have more sense. Like Rand is one of the few people in the whole friggin' Senate that makes any sense. Oddly enough, then we might get a picture of Bernie Sanders and Chelsea Manning holding hands and smiling for the cameras, which would be like, it'd be mind-blowingly funny. A socialist and a socialist, a socialist and an anarcho-communist, basically, smiling and both being in the Senate at the same time, doubling the amount of true far-left so-called revolutionary goofballs in the Senate. But is it really worse than, having any other cookie-cutter neoliberal in there? Well, not really. Even if Manning were to displace a Republican, if it were a cookie-cutter Republican, it'd just be a neocon. Who fucking cares? It's not going to make any difference. Their partisan hackery is just that. They'll pretend to be really far apart on meaningless bullshit, but then when you get something that's really a really bad idea, they'll all vote for it together. It'll be unanimous. We want this bad idea. If it's a good idea, something proposed by someone who gives a shit about the country, they'll all oppose it. We can't do this. We have to shelve it, not even have a vote, because we don't want to be exposed for the liars and crooks that we are. That's how the Senate works. A vote of no confidence in the Senate would be a good idea. Let's just get Chancellor Palpatine in there. For all the good that it'll do us, it's not going to be any more dysfunctional. Might as well just move to a system of Caesars or something like that. For all the good it does us, I hate to say it, but Congress has failed to represent the American people for quite some time, especially since 9/11, because then they can easily get morally browbeaten into the commands and whims of the military-industrial complex much more easily. Like, there's been one time since fucking the invasion of Iraq where U.S. Congress has actually stood in the way of conducting some offensive proxy war bullshit military maneuver, and that was when Obama wanted to strike Assad directly. Because he probably wanted to drop a missile on Assad's head. I don't think that would have been good, and just enough people in the House were sane enough to say, no, we're not going to do that. They were looking at the polling numbers, and it was public opinion primarily that defeated it. Congress would have been all for it if the people hadn't been 75-25 against striking Syria, or 70-30, some insane lopsided number. No, so I'm jury's still out on how I feel about this one. I'd have to wait and see what Manning actually formulates as a platform. By the way, Chelsea Manning can run away with it if a platform is built. Well, then you're head and heels over every other Democrat. They don't have any platforms. Their platform is not Trump Party. That's the DNC's platform. All you have to do is put forth 2 or 3 proposals that'll sound good to a really, really liberal population, which is what you have in Maryland. That's all you need. Of course, you can expect massive turnout against Manning as well from the more rural and suburban areas outside of the D.C. sort of region. Massive, massive turnout. Fed by the GOP, they'll say, we can't let a traitor into the Senate. And that's assuming, of course, that the legal system says, yeah, you're actually eligible to run, despite technically being a felon. Because again, the record was not expunged. Obama commuted the sentence. He said, okay, you've served enough time for the crime, but it's not a pardon. It's not a full pardon that expunges the record. That's about all. Peace out.